Welcome, everyone. I'm William Henry. Wow, we have got some events happening in our world that are profoundly startling. And as I've been watching the news and watching the news feeds the past few days, I've been, in a way, alarmed, but also at the same time, strangely sort of excited as well, because what I've been seeing passing before my eyes is statements reflecting material that I was writing about 15 years ago. In my book, The Judgment Day Device. I speak specifically about a recent comment by Tucker Carlson, who says he believes that the real reason for the Iran war is that Israel wants to build the third temple of Solomon and find a way to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem to bring their Messiah to the world. That got some bells ringing in my mind, again, as you were going to see momentarily, because this was the premise of my book, The Judgment Day Device. Carlson cited as evidence IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, soldiers openly wearing patches displaying the Third Temple as their true mission. And there's all this chatter about various U.S. military members that are saying the same thing, that this is a war for religion, that it's a war about prophecy related to Armageddon. They're referencing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who in 2018 floated the third Jewish temple in an unearthed speech saying it could happen. It's not impossible. It is thought to be impossible, of course, not totally impossible, but Judaism, Christianity, Islam all have a say or believe they have a dog in this hunt, that they will be the ones that will control the Temple Mount site. They will be the ones that will be fulfilling this prophecy. And this is what we're going to be discussing as we go here. On this very morning that I'm recording this presentation, March 12, 2026, Fox News broke in saying Iranian missile lands a few hundred meters from Jerusalem's Old City, Western Wall, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That is Christianity's most sacred place. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the place where Jesus ascended from the earth. And so now we're in this conflagration. We've got Iranian missiles coming within just feet of this most sacred place that is in fact sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike. So let's take a step back in time for a moment to 2012. I had published my book, The Judgment Day Device. This was a response to work that I had been doing beginning in the early 1990s, researching the biblical Ark of the Covenant. It's mentioned in the Old Testament. It's thought by many authors. In fact, all of the best-selling authors will tell you that the Ark of the Covenant is a golden box, a container that held at least the Ten Commandments. Focus on those tablets. There are some very fascinating lines of research that say the Ark functioned perhaps as a weapon. It might have had a radioactive component. Perhaps even the tablets that were placed into the Ark were radioactive themselves. It's been thought of as a mana machine. It's been thought of as a capacitor, an electrical device. But what I was focusing on is the Jewish belief, the legend that before the Ark was known solely as a container, it had other components that were in existence at the Temple of Solomon. These were lost at about or around the time that King Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon stormed Jerusalem, looted and leveled the Temple of Solomon, and is believed to have taken the Ark with him somewhere, unless it was previously concealed or secreted away by the Jewish high priest before Nebuchadnezzar got there. The point is that in the original Jewish understanding of the Ark of the Covenant, it had additional components: a flask of manna that was hallucinogenic star food, a cruse of anointing oil that could dissolve the physical flesh and blood body into light, a rod of enlightenment, the tablets, perhaps even a robe of light as well. All of this under the purview of a divine feminine being who is referred to as the wife of Yahweh, the Old Testament Jewish God. After God got a divorce soon after Nebuchadnezzar took the Jews captive in Babylon, and they were returned to Jerusalem by King Cyrus and his son, were brought back to Jerusalem. This is when the Ark manifests in a different form. There's a changing of the gods. God gets a divorce, and her device, the complete Ark of the Covenant, is never seen again. But there's a Jewish legend that says that when the Messiah appears, the Messiah will reclaim the original Ark of the Covenant. And if that is not enough, if that's not fascinating enough, I, at the same time, was weaving together threads of Jewish, Islamic, and Christian prophecy. And I learned, much to my surprise and to the surprise of all the readers of my book, that in fact, the Ark of the Covenant is not just the sign and seal of the Old Testament Jewish God Yahweh. It, in fact, is the ultimate device. And mind you, the word device means sign, symbol, seal, tool, appliance, technology of Christ. It is also, in fact, attached in Islamic prophecy to the appearance of their Messiah they call the Mahdi. So the subtitle of my book is Lost Secrets of the Throne of the Second Coming, the Ark of the Mahdi, and the Messiah's End Time Kit. And what I saw back then was a race developing among Judaism, Christianity, and Islam to recover the Ark of the Covenant, return it to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and rebuild Solomon's temple. These are the stakes in our world. And so when Tucker Carlson, Pete Hegseth, and others are referencing this, I am paying attention. And what people have to understand is the backstory to those statements. And that's what I'm intending to provide for you here today. One of my favorite paintings of the Ark, of course, is Wilhelm von Kaulbuck's The Crusaders Before Jerusalem. You see a pretty traditional interpretation of the Ark as a golden box, a container carried on ring posts. You have figures here, Crusaders wearing their white linen robes, a la the Essenes. And I particularly like this example of the Ark, not only because you've got the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the background, but you've also got Christ above in a higher layer of reality. And again, this was one of the big takes, big gets in my book, was associating Christ with the Ark. It's usually not done. In Christianity, they say Christ didn't need any of these tools, appliances, signs, or symbols, or seals. However, his mother, Mary, became the new Ark. And that is well established within Catholicism, that she replaced the old Ark. Mary becomes the new Ark. As I've mentioned, the Ark of the Covenant is typically thought of as a golden rectangular box, maybe a weapon, maybe a capacitor, something like that. But this is what you will typically see people arguing is a depiction of the actual Ark of the Covenant. It's pretty Spielbergish. It goes back to James Tissot in the late 19th century, where he's got the Israelite high priest wearing his multicolored breastplate of righteousness, kneeling before the Ark. It's feathered. I like that because feathers refer to ascension. We see the angels on top with their wings touching. Another beautiful painting by James Tissot, where we've got the priest carrying the ark, once again feathered, indicating that it flies. These depictions, in my view, are largely based on what you see in Egypt. For example, at the Temple of Ramses, the Temple of Time at Abydos, we see this depiction here that could readily be interpreted as the Ark of the Covenant. Now, not to be argumentative, but I would submit this is readily misinterpreted as the Ark of the Covenant because these images that we're seeing are not the complete Ark. And this is an important consideration for us to make here. At the Temple of Ramses III, we see a beautiful depiction of what is sometimes interpreted as the Ark. They're all over Egypt. These power boxes, these fire boxes, as sometimes they're referred to. They're transformation chambers. And of course, the Israelites escaped from Egypt, and it could be argued that Moses didn't get the pattern for the Ark of the Covenant on top of Mount Sinai. He took it from Egypt with him, from the Egyptian originals. That's another story. But as we're surveying some of this artwork, here we see Joshua using the ark to take Jericho, again suggesting that it has a weapons capability. They carried it before their army, and when they carried it, they were victorious. And here in John Martin's painting, we see the ark being put on the ground and the walls of Jericho henceforth coming down. Another beautiful example, Benjamin West, here in this depiction, ark carried by ring posts. What's distinctive about West's approach is the pillar of light that he shows manifesting in conjunction with the ark. This is critical because this actually points to the actual or perhaps the ultimate function of the ark. I'm very comfortable with the Ark of the Covenant being a multi-purpose device or technology. It could have been just a container. It could have been just a capacitor. It could have been just a man-machine, but it was also something much more profound than that as well. Another look at West's painting here, perhaps references the Zohar, where the ark manifests as a pillar or beam of light that serves as a conduit for the ascent of souls of the righteous to paradise. It's called the foundation of the Mount of Sion, which is thought of as the cosmic center. Sion with an S differs from Zion with a Z. Well, we're not getting into the minutiae of that, but I'm recognizing that there is a difference. The pillar of light seems to be a plasma pillar or a conduit that emanates from the Ark of the Covenant and transforms it now into the throne of God. In Jewish mysticism, the term Zadok or righteous is also given to this cosmic pillar, as well as the ones who scale it to heaven. This is vital because what this opens up then is an interpretation that I first put forth in 2012 that the Ark appears to be a Stargate device, that it's capable of producing this incredible pillar of light, this pillar of righteousness that the souls can scale. But it also suggests that it also is a portal device as well. Another depiction by West here where we see the Ark of the Covenant laying upon the stone. You see all the people that are lined up. These are the righteous that are looking to sit on this Ark throne and take the ultimate ride. This is all based on eyewitness accounts of the Ark of the Covenant in operation in Solomon's temple and how the Old Testament God Yahweh would manifest on this Ark throne. I'm going to show you depictions of this in a moment. And that, in fact, the Israelite priest could sit on that throne, journey into the stars beyond materiality, come back down into the Holy of Holies of the temple, this golden cube-shaped room, manifest a physical flesh and blood body once again, and go out and have lunch, okay? That, I think, is not a metaphorical experience. He's not just journeying into the heavens metaphorically or in a psychedelic journey. It could well be a literal dematerialization event, a journey into the stars, a return to earth, a rematerialization into physical flesh and blood, and a sharing of wisdom. So what we must fill in every time we see the Ark of the Covenant is the realization that it can produce a luminous pillar or light that is a portal through which the righteous, the fully realized humans, that's what the word righteous actually means, could pass through to the heavenly Sion. By the way, I did locate that heavenly Sion in the center of the Milky Way galaxy, just as a footnote. The pillar is incandescent. It's multicolored pillar at the center of Eden, another name for Sion, upon which souls are capable of ascending through an opening in heaven. This is the conduit where righteous humans are transfigured into angels. Now, with that in mind, let's look at what happened in 2025. Where in March 27th, just 1 year ago, declassified CIA files reveal psychic quest for the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, really? And here's, of course, your golden box. Okay, here's your golden box saying this is the Ark of the Covenant. You have to just go with these images and understand that this is the Jerusalem Post, not really knowing what the Ark of the Covenant is and just going with the traditional view. All across Google, you get decades-old CIA documents on the Ark of the Covenant resurface. Where is the Ark of the Covenant? What CIA secret documents reveal? CIA used psychic to locate Ark of the Covenant. What this establishes for our conversation is a bit of evidence, not total proof, but some evidence that our government is looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And that is something I had also discussed in the Judgment Day device. It was a podcaster, a show host known as John Hooper, who said he thought when he heard of this CIA project, Project Sunstreak, he thought it was like fake until he went to CIA.gov website and found the actual reports that feature sketches and scrawled writings that the CIA psychic presumably made during the remote viewing session, which is how they were looking for it. And they're talking about precisely the Ark of the Covenant. As we look at this, it tells that the purpose of the target is to bring a people together. Absolutely true. Important function of the Ark of the Covenant. It is a uniting technology. It has something to do with ceremony, memory, homage, the resurrection. Yes, exactly. Resurrection, which means dematerialization into a higher form, a light body, and travel via the ark pillar through a hole in space to another realm. Very important that that's mentioned. There is an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and historical knowledge far beyond that we know. Bingo, right. The ark is almost beyond our comprehension. There's no doubt about that. Then it says that the target is protected by entities and can only be opened now by those who are authorized to do so. 100% correct according to Jewish lore. I mean, if an average Joe finds the Ark of the Covenant, one, they probably wouldn't know what it is. And two, they certainly have no idea how to operate it. The mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional training undergone preparatory to engaging with the Ark turns you literally into an angelic type of a being, okay? And there were undoubtedly technologies that were utilized in conjunction with the Ark in its operation. We're trying to remember those, okay? Once it is time to open the container, oh my gosh, you're going to actually open the container? That's something almost no authors do. They look at the container and say, this is the Ark, but they never open it. But someone at CIA is saying, when you open the container, the mechanics of the lock system will be found to be fairly simple. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking are destroyed by the container's protectors through the use of a power unknown to us. Okay, we're really feeling around the Ark now, and the key here is that they actually opened it. They're no longer talking about a closed container. As part of Project Sunstreak, they included a CIA report where drawings of what appear to be features of a building, a mosque with a domed top, 8 mummies lined up beside each other, a wheel, and a winged creature called the Seraphim. That tells me this remote viewer knows what he's actually looking at, because the Seraphim were the protectors of the Ark of the Covenant. The document also includes multiple lists of seemingly random but ominous words such as death, forbidden, protected, scared, destroyed, pain, and anguish. Yeah, you don't want to go looking for the Ark of the Covenant unless it's your business. Okay, that's the message here. If you don't know how to protect yourself and use it, this is none of your business. Okay, that is the message that is being conveyed here, and I think that's one that's consistent throughout the ages. So here's the seraphim that this remote viewer drew. Okay, and wondering how is the ark open? Well, in traditional images of the ark, the seraphim are of course portrayed as the 6-winged angels. They are the guardians of the throne of God. They come from God's divine throne. They're called the burning ones because they burn with the love of the Creator. They are the highest order of angels that we can conceive, but a human, as in the story of Enoch, can become one of them because Enoch became Metatron, whose name means beyond the throne, and became the guardian or guide to the throne. So CIA is getting some good scoop here from this remote viewer talking about the seraphim angels who protect the Ark of the Covenant. They're the winged figures on either side. Portrayed as humanoid beings, they are teachers of humanity. They are initiators. They're portrayed offering a burning coal to the lips of Isaiah. With the Old Testament prophet, that burning coal is probably a DMT-loaded chunk of charcoal, so that Isaiah inhales the DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It opens up the portals or gateways in his consciousness. Now he can perceive beyond the veil that the DMT traditionally will unveil, and now he can perceive into the realm of the Ark of the Covenant. And he can also interact with the seraphim angels, the many-eyed ones, as they're also called. Again, the burning ones, which is why they have orange wings, because they're they're on fire. These are plasma beings. They burn with the love of the Creator. Previously, I've talked in my presentations about NHIQ that Representative Anna Paulina Luna believes that she's seen evidence that UFOs or UAP that the U.S. government is presently discussing are interdimensional beings who were referenced in the Bible. This is them. This is who we're talking about. We're talking about this same class of interdimensional beings. Call them seraphim if you like. Call them the watcher angels. There are different names for this class of beings, and this is who we are talking about. So back to the Ark for a moment. It's integral to Jewish messianic lore. And according to Jewish legend, again, you had a switch. You had a changing of the gods. God gets a divorce. Her device, the complete Ark of the Covenant, is lost. But then something comes back, a container. And the Jewish people are like, yeah, okay, where's the rest of it? Where you're showing us a box, but where's the rest of it? And the analogy I like to make here is that I've got an iMac computer in front of me, and let's say 100 years from now, when this technology is completely obsolete, that someone might say, "Oh yeah, they used to use an iMac computer, and I found one." And they present this beautiful screen. Here's the iMac. But someone hearing that conversation goes, "No, I heard that back 100 years ago when they used the iMac, that it wasn't just the screen. There were components. There was a keyboard. There was they had something they called a mouse. There was a power cord. There was software." And some people go, "No, it's just a screen." Okay? And this is kind of the division within the Ark of the Covenant studies as well. The Ark's just a golden box. No, it's not. There are other components that, once assembled, transform it into a profound device. So in Jewish legend, which develops at beginning around 500 BC, after the Babylonian captivity, after the switch, a legend develops that says to make sure of the identity of the intended or prophesied Messiah, the Jews will demand that he perform the miracle of resurrection before their eyes, reviving such as the dead as they had known personally. This is the to-do list of the Messiah, okay? Instead, the Messiah will do 7 wonders, the to-do list. And here it is. He will bring Moses and the generation of the desert to life. Korah and his band he will raise from out of the earth. Wish we could talk about Korah's story, so amazing, Akhenaten he is. He will revive the Abrahamic Messiah who was slain. He will show the 3 holy vessels of the temple, the ark, the flask of manna, the cruse of sacred oil, all 3 of which disappeared mysteriously. He will also wave the scepter given him by God, a miracle magic Harry Potter wand type of a technology it seems. He will grind the mountains of the Holy Land into powder like straw, just like the Twin Towers at 9/11. I'll talk about that another time. And he will reveal the secret of redemption. This is the Messiah's to-do list. Get the ark, the holy vessels, all of them. Then the Jews will believe that Elijah is the Elijah promised to them, and the Messiah introduced to him was the true Messiah. So this goes back to what inspired my Judgment Day device book. Wait a minute, the Ark of the Covenant is actually a kit. It's a kit of tools that includes the golden box that might be a man-and-machine capacitor, storage device, blah, 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 the rod of Aaron, the flask of manna, the cruse of anointing oil, and the tablets of the law. And when I looked at this French image, I thought, okay, this now in hindsight, think about what CIA is saying, open the container, what's in there. This is what's in there, or should be in there, because like my iMac, the container is pretty much useless without the keyboard, like my computer's useless without the keyboard, the mouse, the power cord, and the software, okay? And so I looked at this and said, golly, that's a kit, and the object then is to assemble that kit. And so what we're talking about here are 2 identical things, the ark, but very different interpretations on what we're dealing with. And in my view, I want the most complete interpretation possible. So I'm going to assemble all of the components. Now, I mentioned previously that the Ark of the Covenant possibly emerged from Egypt because that's where the Israelites came from. And of course, when the Israelites had escaped Egypt, possibly with the Ark, they're wandering around the wilderness for 40 years and they're being attacked by winged serpents. I kid you not, there are academics that propose that these could be carryover dinosaurs from the time before the flood. And the Israelites are being attacked and they're wounded. Moses prays to Yahweh, and Yahweh, the Lord, said to Moses, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he sees this work of art, shall live. Now, briefly, that totally blew my mind and inspired my investigation into sacred art as a medium of transmission between the divine and the material realm. Because how is it possible that you can look at a sculpture of a winged serpent and be healed unless that sculpture, that work of art, is transmitting a divine vibration? It is Yahweh in this moment. But it's not just Yahweh that this serpent on a pole represents. The serpent on a pole, the winged serpent, that's the title of the seraphim angels that guard the Ark of the Covenant. And with that, I'm seeing a possibility. Is there a connection between the rod of Moses and the Ark? Perhaps even the Nehushtan, as the serpent on a pole is referred to. Is there a lost connection between the Nehushtan and the Ark of the Covenant? Well, as I pull on that thread, I had long, 10 years since before then, been interested in ancient Egyptian resurrection technologies, one of my specialties. And in fact, the ultimate example of ancient Egyptian resurrection technology I call the Osiris device, or it's referred to as the head of Osiris, who's the Egyptian god of resurrection. He's a god who was disassembled, cut into 15 pieces. His wife Isis reassembled him, all except his penis, and was able then to have Osiris reincarnate as their son, Horus. It's a resurrection device that Osiris ultimately represents. And you're looking at a part of the hieroglyph for the head of Osiris here. This serpent on a pole is, I believe, the Nehushtan. And when you put it on top of that middle glyph there, the firehouse glyph, in between the two tet pillars with the four columns, you get what the ancient Egyptians called Osiris, and I refer to as the Osiris device. It is a tool, it's an appliance, it's a sign, it's a symbol. It is Osiris in Egyptian thinking. If it's a technology tool or appliance, and what does it do? They called it the bond between heaven and earth, as if it connected the material and the immaterial realm. It is a resurrection device. And I'm looking at this thinking, golly, wait a minute, look at the platform upon which that pillar is sitting. Look at Isis and her sister Nephthys, who are the traditional operators of this technology of the Osiris device. It's Isis. It belongs to her. It represents her husband, Osiris, just like in the same manner the guitar player Les Paul gave his name to the Gibson Les Paul electric guitar. Isis is here playing Osiris, this device that is the bond between heaven and earth. The stairway to heaven might even be the original model of the Tower of Babel. It's a pillar that links heaven and earth. Ding, 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 ding. Wait a minute, that sounds like the Jewish conception of the Ark of the Covenant, that it has the Zadok pillar of righteousness that unites heaven and earth that emits from it. So I look at this French depiction of the kit and I think, wait a minute, look at this. We've got similar components. We've got two tablets, what appear to be tablets. We've got a tin can looking object that is a container of oil. We've got a rod, and we've got a platform that is carried on ring posts just like the Ark of the Covenant. Now, what exactly is going on here? Well, I'll tell you what I think is going on here is that Moses stole the Ark of the Covenant from the Temple of Seti at Abydos, where he probably trained, as Paul says in the book of Acts, in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. The Osiris device, in my opinion, and this is one of my conclusions in the Judgment Day device, is the original Ark of the Covenant, and there are depictions of it all over the walls in Egypt. I'll show them to you when you travel there to Egypt with me. And again, it's suggesting that the ark is originally an Egyptian technology, that the seraphim angels that Moses was interacting with or created a sculpture in homage to them, the winged serpents, is actually the Osiris device. That he assembled the Osiris device, and no wonder the Pharaoh chases Moses down. He stole the Osiris device, the resurrection technology. It was probably Ramses who was chasing Moses, and Ramses' father, King Seti, is the one who actually used it. His entire temple of Seti at Abydos is devoted to his resurrection, 1,500 years before the time of Jesus. As my research continues, I realize that there is a suspicious connection with Nikola Tesla here. At the exact same time that J.P. Morgan is funding Nikola Tesla in New York to build the Wardenclyffe Tower, a wireless technology that ultimately could unite the entire planet with free energy. As Morgan is funding Tesla, he is also funding the excavation at Abydos that for the first time in 2,000 years brings forward the images of the Osiris device. I think he found it. I think he found something about it and gave it back to Nikola Tesla. That's a whole other story. But continuing on, this serpent on a pole is also the symbol of the Son of Man, which is a title for Jesus. Jesus himself said, no one ascended into heaven except he who descended from heaven, indicating the Son of Man is coming from a higher layer of creation. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, so that whoever believes in him will have eternal life. The serpent on a pole, whether we see it on the Osiris device, the head of Osiris, or in connection with the symbolism of Jesus, represents eternal life, resurrection, portals, gateways, unity of heaven and earth. And that is what the Ark of the Covenant functions as well. So now let's turn the page for a moment and look at the Islamic understanding of the Ark of the Covenant. What does it mean to Islam? Well, the Ark of the Covenant is regarded by Islamic scholars as heralding an age when Quranic moral values will prevail on earth. In the Quran, the Ark of the Covenant is a sign, just as it is of Yahweh, a sign and a seal of Yahweh in the Old Testament for the faithful, and is described in these terms. Muhammad, their prophet, said to them, the sign of his kingship is that the ark will come to you containing serenity from your Lord and certain relics left by the family of Musa and Haran. It will be borne by angels, the seraphim. There is a sign for you in that if you believe. It will be borne by angels, meaning the ark is not on earth. It's been taken off the earth, and that's been kind of known in ark studies ever since the Babylonians talked about that. For the world's 1.8 billion Muslims, maybe 2 billion by now, because I wrote this in 2012, the revealed ark will be the sign of a great new golden age of peace, plenty, and rapid advance in human civilization ruled by the Mahdi, who's the Islamic Messiah. He's in a lineage that goes back to Adam, through Jacob, through who is Israel, through Moses, Elijah, Jesus. For the world's roughly 13.5 million Jews, it will be a travesty if the Islamic Mahdi reveals the Ark of the Covenant, and it will be a cause for retaliation. This is where it starts, right here. The Jews are saying, you're not getting the Ark of the Covenant, and Islamic people are saying, oh yeah, we are. Oh yeah, we are. The world's 2 billion Christians don't seem to know much about it. It's just not part of what they teach in Sunday school. It's not part of church services. It's all, that's all hokey Old Testament stuff, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, the world's 2 billion Christians better start to understand what the Ark of the Covenant actually is. It's generally accepted by Shia Muslims, who are opposed by the Sunni, that the messianic Mahdi, the guided one, will be the one guided to discover the ark. That's the meaning of his name. His name is the Mahdi. He is the guided one who will be guided to get the ark. He will be accompanied by his assistant, Jesus. Think about that. Islam is saying, yeah, there's going to be a second coming, and our Mahdi, our guy, is going to get the Ark of the Covenant, and Jesus actually will be the one who goes and gets it for him, which means then that means it's possible that the Jewish Messiah will also be that figure. The Ark of the Covenant will be found by the Mahdi in the end times and will be taken to Jerusalem, where it will be a symbol of his dominion or sovereignty. Not unless Pete Hegseth has something to do with it. You see where I'm going with this? You get the contemporary relevance and how this is rattling around in the minds of people that are making decisions for us right now. Please pray for Pete Hegseth, the entire U.S. military, everybody involved in this conflagration in Iran and the Middle East right now, because many of them have no clue what is actually going on here. We're distracted by the oil in the Straits of Hormuz, and we're going to pay $10 a gallon for gas. We have no idea what's really potentially motivating this scenario. For Muslims, the Ark of the Covenant will be the sign of a great new golden age of peace, plenty, and rapid advance in human and civilization. It will be the Mahdi who rules it, and all will embrace Islam once they see the Ark. That's the prophecy. This is the stakes in what we're talking about here. After retrieving the sacred prophetic treasure of his ancestors, he will be crowned king of the kingdom of heaven in Mecca or Jerusalem by Jesus, son of Mary, upon his head, and he will restore the ark in its place inside the holy Kaaba. So the question then comes back, if the Mahdi turns up with the Ark of the Covenant, which will it be? If the Jewish Messiah turns up with the Ark of the Covenant, or the Christian Christ turns up with the Ark of the Covenant, which will it be? That's why I wrote the Judgment Day device, because there's big questions. If they turn up with a golden container, maybe made in China, maybe made in Italy, wherever, I know that that's probably not the Ark of the Covenant, because we know for a fact there are additional components that must be utilized and completely change the characterization of the Ark of the Covenant. So which will it be? Now, I'm going to take you back again to 2012, my Judgment Day device book. I want to read a few pages of this for you, because it's going to open up your mind about precisely what happened in our world last week in March of 2026. Since 2010, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has been telling Iranians he has actually met the hidden Imam, the Mahdi, who promised to appear publicly when Khamenei is still Supreme Leader. Khamenei and his disciples deviate from traditional Shia doctrine and say the deliberate creation of upheaval and chaos may hasten the Mahdi's return. That scared the shit out of me when I first learned that, because I realized this is why Iran wants nuclear weapons. They believe, unlike Sunni Islam that says, hey, the Mahdi's going to show up whenever he's going to show up. It's kind of like the Christian laissez-faire attitude. Yeah, Jesus is coming. Look busy, but we don't know when it's going to happen and all this kind of thing. We just pray that it happens, right? They don't really care. Within Shia Islam, the Ayatollah Khamenei's like, oh, no. We can accelerate that process. We can stir up chaos planet-wide because that's a precondition for the Mahdi to arrive. And thereby we accelerate the return of this figure. The 12th Imam is understood to be the culmination or manifestation, as I mentioned a moment ago, of the prophets Adam, Noah, Enoch. Hello, Enoch, Representative Anna Paulina Luna. This is your guy right here. He's in this lineage of all of these prophets who know exactly what I'm speaking about right now. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and Jesus. He's referred to as the perfect one and the true prophet. But the question is, when will the Mahdi return? That's what everybody wants to know. In 2010 or 11, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was the president of Iran, and he was burning a trail back and forth to the UN, standing before the United Nations General Assembly in New York, and proclaiming that the great wars, bloodshed, and cosmic chaos must engulf the world in preparation for the appearance of the Ark and the Mahdi. If that isn't telling you exactly what the motivation of the Iranian nuclear weapons program was, and what we just destroyed, and what it means now, Ahmadinejad has repeatedly lectured to world diplomats at the UN that Iran is divinely inspired to pave the way for the Islamic Messiah. In 2011, Ahmadinejad's office produced and released a documentary that received scant attention in the West. It was titled The Coming is Upon Us, and it lays out the regime's belief and planned path forward in a style similar to Hitler's Nazi blueprint, Mein Kampf. The film makes the case that the regime's leaders are the incarnations of specific end-time figures foretold in Islamic and end-time prophecy. It's not just Saddam Hussein who believed that he's the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. It's now Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and Ayatollah Khamenei believe they're reincarnations of past figures. Oh, I didn't mention, did I, that a few, maybe 5, 6, maybe 1,000, I don't know, Jewish people in Jerusalem believe that Donald J. Trump is the reincarnation of King Cyrus, who freed the Jews from the Babylonian captivity and released them to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the Temple of Solomon without the correct Ark of the Covenant, by the way. Who are these people, right? They believe they are these reincarnations of these biblical figures, and they're here to do their deed. They're here to bring along a messianic prophecy. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad actually believes that he was born to be the great jihadist that would prepare the way for the 12th Imam. I sound like Glenn Beck here, I know, because he was back in 2012. He and I were about the only guys that were even talking about this. But in order for the Mahdi to return, The belief is that there must be a great cataclysmic event. Some believe Iran's nuclear programs is designed to facilitate this cataclysmic event and hasten the return of the Mahdi. Barack Obama was president when I wrote this book. I don't know if you believe that or not. Donald J. Trump then follows him, followed by President Biden, and now Donald J. Trump back in office. I think they believe this. I think there are elements in the White House that absolutely believe this, but they're not telling us about it, okay? Does the government of Iran, I'm back in my Judgment Day device book, does the government of Iran, which bankrolls notorious terrorist organizations, Hezbollah and Hamas, and was named by a federal district court in Manhattan as materially and financially supporting the attacks of 9/11 that ground the mountains of the Holy Land, America, the new Atlantis, the new Jerusalem, to powder, just like the Messiah is supposed to do with the Ark, do they actually want war with Israel and the U.S. so that the Mahdi can return? Is Iran's quest for nuclear weapons or its forcing of a nuclear exchange designed to facilitate this cataclysmic event and hasten the return of the Mahdi? How close is Iran to discovering the Ark of the Covenant? Probably as close as they were to developing a nuke, which is why we bombed the crud out of them. As preposterous as these questions sound, and I admit they sound nutty in 2012, the truth is that the vast majority of people in the United States and Europe, Christians primarily, simply don't understand how absolutely obsessed Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and others in the Iranian government are with their form of radical Islam and with the return of the Mahdi. This is not a shot at Islam. I have many, many friends that are Islamic, and I love the Islamic culture. I go to Egypt two, 3 times a year and have for 20 years. I love that culture. These are peaceful people. But there are some that have these ideas that they're reincarnations of biblical figures who are here to bring in a Messiah. It surprises many to learn that the Iran's official state websites are filled with information about the Mahdi. In fact, Ahmadinejad actually believes, again, that he was born to be the great jihadist. On July 11th, 2012, I'm writing my book, and here comes the Ayatollah Khomeini, spiritual leader of the Islamic Revolution. Ayatollah Khomeini personally announced for the first time that Iran must prepare for war and the end of times. So what is happening right now in Iran has its roots in at least 2012, and probably before that. Usually a cleric makes such a statement. They get a lowly guy to trot out there and read the paper. In this way, the Iranian media does not interpret such statements as the policy of the government. This is why Khomeini's personal role in the Iranian media's wide circulation of this proclamation sent off alarm bells among Western leaders. Imagine if the Pope proclaimed the end of times is the comparison here. This is 2012. Bells are going off in the Obama West Wing. Ayatollah is saying, hey, it's on. The messianic age is on, which means somewhere in some closet is the Ark of the Covenant getting ready to be hauled out and taken to Jerusalem. The issue of Imam Mahdi is of utmost importance, and his reappearance has been clearly stated in our holy religion of Islam, Khomeini said. We must study and remind ourselves of the end of times and Imam Mahdi's era. We must prepare the environment for the coming so that the great leader will come. Like Ahmadinejad, Khomeini has claimed to be in communication with the Mahdi and has revealed him that these are the end times. I mean, this is just, I can't believe what I'm writing in 2012, and it's hard to even imagine what I'm reading to you right now today in 2026. Ayatollah Yazdi, an influential cleric, previously had stated that Khomeini ascends to the sky every year to take direction from Imam Mahdi, and sources close to the cleric have disclosed that Khomeini has been ordered by Imam Mahdi to continue with the nuclear program despite worldwide objection, as it will facilitate his coming. This is a holy war in Iran to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons capabilities so that they can't trigger the acceleration of the appearance of the Mahdi. And here is the Ayatollah Khomeini say he ascends to the sky each year. What do you mean? He goes up in his G5 and tools around the planet and talks to the Mahdi? Or no, he doesn't go up in a spaceship because Iran doesn't have one. Is this a psychedelic journey? He's ascending into the sky of the mind and having conversations with the Mahdi. And he's telling him, yeah, it's on, let's go. Get that ark, let's go, move it. what does this mean that he ascends to the sky every year to take direction from the Mahdi? That means that the Mahdi's an extraterrestrial and he's taking orders from him? In his announcement, Khomeini said that it is time to prepare for war and Judgment Day. Hence the title of my book, The Judgment Day Device, because without the recovery of the Ark of the Covenant, an end-time war is pretty much useless. You got to cop up the goods. You got to go get the box. You got to go get that kit. You got to go put it together. This is why Hitler was obsessed with all these Jewish artifacts, the Ark of the Covenant included, Holy Grail, other tools and implements. In his announcement, Khomeini said that it is time to prepare for war and Judgment Day. And he says, quote, today we have a duty to prepare for the coming. If we are the soldiers of the 12th Imam, then we must be ready to fight, said Khomeini. Okay, so the Obama West Wing is reading this. It's all right. Trump comes in. He's distracted. He's got other issues going on. I don't know if they pay much attention to it or not. Biden, I don't think they paid any attention to it, really. We just kept feeding Iran cash along the way, freeing up their bank accounts, giving them cash to develop their nuclear weapons program. But along comes the Trump administration, 47. And people are now going, no, it's not going to happen. We're not going to allow this to happen. We've got our own prophecies that we're following. So at Judgment Day, Christians seek signs of the second coming. Jews await the Messiah. Islam awaits the Mahdi. But what most don't realize is that all three are symbolized by the same device, the Ark of the Covenant. And one of these figures will recover the Ark and place it in the rebuilt temple, Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Fast forward. I'm in France last summer leading a Mary Magdalene tour. Afterward, go to Glastonbury, England for a couple of days. June 22nd, 2025. Trump claims success after bombing key Iran nuclear sites. Boom. All of a sudden, my holiday turns into nightmare. Wait a minute. These guys are reading the Armageddon script. These guys understand why Iran wants a nuclear weapon. It's everything I was just speaking of a moment ago. And the world watched as our B-2s went in an Operation Midnight Hammer and took out several key Iranian nuclear weapons sites, and everybody kind of breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, whew, that was easy. That's over. But now here we are in March 2026, and now we're told it's not over. It's not over. What? You didn't get the Ark of the Covenant? Is that what this is? Did the U.S. government go in search of the Ark of the Covenant? What else? What's going on here? Tucker Carlson now says he believes the real reason for the Iran war is that Israel wants to rebuild the third temple and find a way to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem to bring the Messiah to the world, which means somebody's got the Ark of the Covenant or is going to go get it in order to fulfill this prophecy. Because without the Ark sitting in this rebuilt temple, might as well just go down to Nordstrom, right? Hang out in Nordstrom because it's just a building, okay? This is the importance of understanding this prophecy in our world. Carlson, speaking about the Chabad Lubavitch movement of Orthodox Judaism, says, yeah, these are basically really good people, but they're trying to fund. He accused Chabad of sitting at the center of what he said was an effort to wage a holy war in the Middle East aimed at destroying the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, Muslim holy sites built on the remnants of the ancient Jewish temple known as the Temple Mount, in order to clear the way for its reconstruction. As evidence, he cited a video posted by an Israeli soldier who showed off both a patch showing a crown and a Hebrew word for Messiah and a third temple patch that he had affixed to his uniform. At the same time, as I mentioned previously, you've got chatter within the ranks of the U.S. military saying, these are some Bible thumpers here that believe that the Messiah is coming, that Christ is coming, and they must know what I know. What I wrote in the Judgment Day Device. And let me just mention this too, that a couple of years after I wrote the Judgment Day Device, it was kind of a scary topic to talk about. And I'm not a paranoid person, but as I would be out speaking about this on radio interviews and at events and that, I started kind of hearing footsteps. I didn't like the feeling around me. I felt like I was being watched. And I understood Jesus, man, if I know this about the Ark of the Covenant, what does Mahmoud Ahmadinejad know? What does Benjamin Netanyahu know? What do any of these other figures who were involved in the fulfillment of this prophecy? I'm just a guy who accessed a divinity library for 10 years to learn about what the Ark of the Covenant is, right? These guys have way more resources than I do. And if I could piece this together, what do they actually know? So I just let the story go. And I started getting into my light body research and other topics. And again, now we've come full circle. What is going to transpire here? This is the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is the former site of Solomon's Temple. This is the most contentious dot of real estate on planet Earth. But it's not just real estate. It's the most explosive intersection of prophecy, power, and ancient technology on Earth. Across biblical tradition, the temple represents the meeting point of heaven and earth, the dwelling place of the divine presence, the cosmic axis connecting worlds, which is why the Temple Mount remains the most symbolically charged piece of land on earth. And a missile nearly hit it this morning before I recorded this presentation. Are all eyes about to be on the Dome of the Rock? We are living in times that are part to do with the past, and also to do with the future. It's as if we've got cleanup to do from the ancient world. And once we remove certain individuals, perhaps the most sacred technology known to man will return to earth. Maybe the rebuilding of Solomon's Temple. The ancients viewed the site of Solomon's Temple as an intersection between dimensions. Let me just tell you that straight up. Between man and God. A human could enter Solomon's Temple, be transformed, link with God, and return as a higher being than a normal human. This idea of Solomon's Temple as a Stargate is derived from biblical texts, such as Ezekiel 5:5, which describes Jerusalem as the center of the nations. Now, during the Renaissance, people said, no, the center of the earth is not Jerusalem, it's the Giza Plateau. That's another conversation, but just so you know, there is a competition among what is the most powerful dot of real estate on earth? Is it the Stargate in Jerusalem, or is it the Stargate at the Giza Plateau? The Babylonian Talmud states the world is like a human eyeball. The white of the eye is the ocean surrounding the world. The iris is the continent. The pupil is Jerusalem, and the image in the pupil is the holy temple. Okay, so this is the importance that's ascribed to this place. And of course, this was the original site of Solomon's Temple where today we see the Dome of the Rock. But originally, this is where the Ark of the Covenant was placed, on the foundation stone on the Temple Mount. And the temple was built to house the Ark of the Covenant. It's described as an X place, a portal or Stargate, where heavenly fire meets the earth. And the dome today conceals what is considered to be the most sacred rock and dot of real estate on earth. It's called the foundation stone. And it's said to have been planted here at the beginning of creation and taken by God from his throne of glory. Jews see it as the center of the earth, the axis of the universe, the pivot that joins heaven and earth, and that the primeval chaos is beneath it. It was the root of heaven, the lid of hell, the place through which souls sprang up when ascending from hell to heaven. It's a Stargate, okay? In our contemporary terminology, this is exactly how the ancients viewed it. And this is a painting of that foundation stone where the ark was placed. And here's a photo from the interior of the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we see that foundation stone looking up. And I love the portal imagery, the sun at the center, uniting our sun with all suns throughout the universe. This is a tremendous artistic conception of the unity of our consciousness with other consciousnesses around the universe. Entering the Holy of Holies, as I said, was a divine experience because the Lord appeared to the high priest on a cloud upon the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. The Lord is even described leaving the Holy of Holies and walking out on the portico of the temple. Would manifest on the Ark throne, cross over the veil of Solomon's Temple, go out to the portico and talk to the people. I mean, it's a Stargate story is what we're talking about. Before meeting the Lord, the high priest, including James the Just, the little brother of Jesus, took incense into the Holy of Holies. Put the incense on the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of incense may cover the Kepharet, the mercy seat, which is upon the testimony, lest he die. There I will meet you, says the Lord, and from above the mercy seat, from between the two cherubim, which are upon the ark of the testimony, I will speak to you about all that I will give you in commandment for the sons of Israel. Isaiah, Ezekiel, others had a one-on-one encounter, a personal experience with this being. And in Israelite thought, Yahweh is imagined on an immense throne located in the Temple of Solomon in the most holy place with his feet propped on the Ark of the Covenant, which serves as his footstool. Now, I won't tell you where I took this photo because it is a very off limits to the public site. And I'm sharing it against the wishes of the person who 15 years ago allowed me into this space to take this photo, but I think it's that important. We see Yahweh on the ark throne with his feet on a footstool, holding these power balls or tablets. Maybe you got them out of the Ark of the Covenant, maybe you didn't, but this is based on the eyewitness accounts of Isaiah and Ezekiel and others who saw Yahweh as a humanoid figure radiating rainbow-colored light with a portal opening above him. Okay? So this, to me, is an elucidation or a visualization of that experience. Here's Ezekiel's vision of the throne chariot. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne. That's the Ark of the Covenant. And as the appearance of a sapphire throne, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above it. Also from the appearance of his waist upward I saw as it were the color of amber with the appearance of fire all around within it. And the appearance of his waist and downward I saw with the appearance of fire with brightness all around it. This is Ezekiel seeing Yahweh on his ark throne emanating fire, frequency, or vibration, also described as rainbow colored. We're talking about the ark as a device, as a throne that is a materialization device for this God that beams in from elsewhere. This became the model for the earliest depictions of the ascension throne of Christ, referred to as the Merkabah, the throne chariot. You see the wheels beneath Jesus's rainbow cloud that he's riding in? Those are the Ophanim. That is what Ezekiel also saw. This is the transportation vehicle, an interdimensional transportation vehicle, I might add, of the angelic realm, of the avatars. And so from Syria, 6th century, we start to build on the ascension images of Christ ascending on his throne, which is the Ark of the Covenant. And this is where the Ark gets lost in Christianity. This is why card-carrying Christians do not know that Christ has a throne and that his throne is in fact the Ark of the Covenant, and he went and got it during his lifetime 2,000 years ago, much to the consternation of the Jewish priests who wanted everybody to think the Ark of the Covenant is some golden box container thing. 4th century Egypt, Christ on his throne, his feet on a footstool. That's the Ark of the Covenant. And we see the Ophanim wheels beneath it. We see a cloud as it's described, because this is an ascension image. It's not a cloud. It's a face-on view of a vertical ascension experience that Jesus is having here because he's sitting on the ark throne, okay? He's got his golden garment on. And once again, the tip-off is the throne with the footstool. By definition, that is the Ark of the Covenant. Very clear here in this English depiction from the 8th century where Christ is sitting on his throne, feet on a footstool, the angels on either side. This is a visualization of the ark throne. And we've got the portal behind him filled with stars. Again, it's a face-on view, but it's a vertical experience that Jesus is having. He's ascending through the pillar of righteousness, as it's called, the Zadok pillar. Another example, Christ on his throne, feet on the footstool, Ark of the Covenant. Another example, this one in the Eastern tradition, we tend to get more examples of this where we see Christ enthroned with the combination of symbols we've been discussing here. The serpent on a pole, the Nehushtan, the serpent of Eden. That's the Nehushtan that is now connected to the ark throne, and the orb of light around him, that's not a cloud. That's a portal. That is a portal that is manifested by the ark throne. And what you're saying in your mind is probably thinking, well, William, I've never heard that Jesus had a throne. I've never heard that Jesus used a technology. I've never heard any of this. Yeah, that's the point. You're not supposed to. Okay, this is where Christianity is substituted from its original version, and its art is sanitized of all of this imagery that connects to the Ark throne. Another example here, where Christ is enthroned in an orb of light, wearing a cloak full of stars, with the Ophanim wheels beneath the throne. That's the Ark, okay? And here we have the rainbow that, of course, is connected with it as well. So the point that I'm trying to drive to here is that you have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all saying, and the Jewish people are anticipating the arrival of Messiah who will go get the Ark of the Covenant. Islamic people are expecting the arrival of the Mahdi who will go get the Ark of the Covenant. Actually, his assistant, Jesus, will go get it for him, take it to Jerusalem. Christianity has their prophecies as well about the rebuilt Solomon's temple as a prefiguration to the second coming of Christ. And here in Russian Last Judgment images, we see the complements come together. We see the Judgment Day device fully assembled. We see Christ above on his throne. He's sitting on an ark. That's not what they did. They got rid of the throne with the footstool and just would show him sitting on an ark. You're supposed to know that's the Ark of the Covenant. You see the transparent Ophanim wheels at his feet, and beneath him, you see a device, a sign, a seal, a tool, an appliance that is operated or attended by the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene and John the Baptist. I propose, as I did in the Judgment Day device, that this object, referred to as the Edimachia, the prepared throne of Christ, is the fully assembled Ark of the Covenant. Christ's throne, the Edimachia, is the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is Christ's throne. That equation has to be made in order, I believe, to fully understand not only the Ark of the Covenant, but its role in Christian prophecy. It's got to be taken to Jerusalem, to the rebuilt Stargate, the Temple of Solomon, and installed there because it seems to function as some sort of a tether to the cloud, the portal, the mist out of which the Messiah appears, and draws him into materiality, slows him down, the way I characterize it, so we can actually see him. And this is going back in this imagery, what we see here. This is like the Goodyear blimp tethered to an earthly pillar. The ark functioned as a step-down receiver for these super fast, high-moving, high-frequency extraterrestrial beings that beam into Solomon's temple, the Stargate, and then can be manifest on the Ark throne. And it's even possible then that a human can climb on that throne, go up in the cloud with the Christ Messiah or Mahdi, at least in my understanding and interpretation of this. And I believe, as I previously mentioned elsewhere, that the cloud that Christ flies around in, ascends and descends upon, as Paul describes in the book of Acts, might have something to do with something like the Tic Tac video that the U.S. Navy saw. And my friend Dr. Travis Taylor has decoded or interpreted as a hyperdimensional craft, something that's not part of our reality. Jesus said, I am from above, you are from below. And he's telling us how he traverses the layers of creation, the layers of the simulation. It's a similar type of technology that we're dealing with here. And I'm not saying that the Tic Tac is the throne of Christ. I'm saying they behave in a similar fashion. They're projections from another reality, and the ark is the step-down transformer. St. Paul outside the walls in Rome has the depictions that I most personally most cherish of the true cross of Christ. It's not the cross that people wear around their neck to proclaim themselves Christians. The original cross of Christ, his throne, is the Ark of the Covenant, the fully assembled Ark of the Covenant, including the book, including the robe of stars, including all the other tools or implements that were involved in the Passion of Christ, where his body was dematerialized from flesh and blood into a light being form. Here is my detail of the photo I took at St. Paul behind the walls. And we see, again, the ark with the footstool, or the throne with the footstool, That's the ark. The robe of light, the book, the cross, the instrument of transmutation. We see the Grail cup with 3 mushrooms in it. We see the psychoactive sponge that was offered to his mouth as he was begging because he was thirsty. This is, in my opinion, the complete Ark of the Covenant. The Ark throne and the Adamastia throne of Christ are the same thing. And to wind up my presentation for today, as I continue to track this, people want to know, well, what happened to it? Well, after the crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus, Rome came in and exterminated anybody that had any connection whatsoever to Christ or was an eyewitness to this. They destroyed, obliterated the Temple of Solomon. And those closest to Jesus took all of his personal property, including his Adamastia throne, got out of Jerusalem and took it elsewhere. And they left documents, trails where they went. They were absolutely silent about this for fear that Rome would discover what they did with the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark throne, the Adamastia throne of Christ, and all of his other personal property that went with it. His little brother James was, I believe, the one responsible for secreting this out, and will be the one that will return to recover all of this for his big brother. Along the way, we go 11 centuries into the future, and the Knights Templar maintain that they're operating on documents that belong to the family of the Lord, the Desposini. They go back to Jerusalem, spend, 11 years excavating the site of Solomon's Temple, return to France. Some people believe they found the Ark of the Covenant. And we certainly see a depiction of that here in a meeting of the chapter of the Knights Templar in, what's the year here, 1147, where you can interpret the golden container as the Ark of the Covenant, or, well, part of it anyway, unless we open it, like the CIA asked people to open it. Once you open it, then you get all the pieces of the kit, you put it together, and you know what that is if you're part of this lineage, okay? What happens is the Templar, after they came back from Jerusalem, went to Abbot Suger at a place called Saint Denis, outside of Paris, which is the site of the first Gothic cathedral. The Templar inaugurate this new age of technology based on what they found at Solomon's Temple, including perhaps some form of sacred geometry that enabled them to build these incredible Gothic cathedrals. Again, beginning here at Saint Denis. I was pleasantly surprised, let me say, to be reading Abbot Suger's descriptions of his encounters with the Templar and being told that he received the secrets that the Templar brought back. And in particular, it focused on a window medallion in Saint Denis, personally designed by Abbot Suger. And in his own words, he says this, and there's a drawing of that window medallion. The previous image, that's a photo that I took in 2008 when I visited Saint Denis. And what we see is, in Suger's own words, this is the true cross of Christ. Now, at the time, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee, where there's about, 10,000 Christian churches within a 30-mile radius of Nashville. And I used to say, every single one of those Christian churches depicts the cross of crucifixion attached to the Ark of the Covenant. And I had to work on my timing because it was a joke. I was being ironic. None of them ever mentioned that the cross of Christ is connected to the Ark of the Covenant, period, okay? But here's Abbot Suger, after his meeting with the Templar, saying, here's the true cross of crucifixion. And this is what has really tempered my thinking about not just the Ark of the Covenant, but about these prophecies that, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, when he's standing before the UN and he's talking about introducing this new age of righteousness, and the Mahdi's coming down, and that means the Ark's going to show up. Which one is it? Is it the golden box? The fake? Fake's probably too strong. The decoy? The incomplete Ark? Is it the iMac without the keyboard, the mouse, and the power cord? Or will they turn up with the complete Ark of the Covenant? That is the question that is going to be determined in our world, perhaps in the coming days. Literally, the coming days. By coming days, I don't mean the next decade. I mean the next days, like sometime in 2026. I'm not trying to be alarmist, just reading the news. Final comment. One way to avoid confrontation in our world is through increased cooperation and understanding amongst Jews, Christians, and Muslims about the symbolism of the Ark of the Covenant / as I call it, the Judgment Day device, and how it relates to each of us personally, especially the black or hidden foundation stone within. In a future presentation, I will take you into the body to show you the Ark of the Covenant. I believe this is what the Templar also understood, that the foundation stone upon which the Ark sits is actually our pineal gland. And I have found that all three religions believe their Messiah figures use this device as a sign and a tool. Their Messiah figures use this as a sign and a tool, and it may be an actual device, but more importantly, the symbols that define it represent a life code or a life manual of those who know its secrets. And they don't believe or behave the way some of the people do in our world. All three religions agree that a spiritual transformation is required to perceive and interact with this device. And this is what my book, The Judgment Day Device, has been about. And I'm quoting from it here. I believe that if enough people learn the real secrets of the Ark throne / Judgment Day device, the Adamastia prepared throne of Christ, it will change the thought form around the end time prophecy, and that can usher in a new golden age. And that is my hope and promise and intention for writing that book, and also for offering this presentation today, is that we've got to up-level our understanding. Because if we don't, those who misunderstand might have their hands on nuclear weapons and they might decide to use them. And that would be a tremendous tragedy. So I hope you will join me in at least setting an intention, a prayer out to all of those who subscribe to any of the elements of what I've been describing here today, that they find it within themselves to act like the angels in this scenario, that we find a way to bring cooperation and peace, and at last bring to manifestation the Temple of Solomon in a peaceful way, and unite the people of Earth with the extraterrestrial civilizations that are awaiting our graduation at this moment. So thank you very much for your kind attention to my presentation today. Let's make it happen. Thank you.